Kneel Before Blog presents Kneel Before Pod.
Hello and welcome to Kneel Before Pod interviews. I'm your host Craig, and I've recently had the pleasure of chatting with Dean Redman after his recent guest starring role in the first episode of Boston Blue. We discuss acting with CGI, meeting your heroes, and the importance of recognising stunts. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. I'm delighted to be joined by Dean Redman. Hello, how are you doing?
I am very good, Craig. How are you doing today? Thank you for having me.
I'm doing good. It's starting to cool down in this country for the winter as we approach it. It's more comfortable temperatures for me. The summer was quite grim for me.
Pretty much like over here in Vancouver, Canada. It's starting to get a little chilly, faster than normal. First day, boom, fall.
That's climate change for you, I guess. Not that we want to get too political.
No, not doing that.
Let's just go right back to the beginning then. How did you get started in your acting career?
Honestly, I've been doing many interviews, and it depends on when you ask me that, because different things come into play in my mind depending on what, you know what I mean? It's kind of interesting. But basically, how I got into film and television was through stunts. I used to kickbox. I was a fitness model for a short time, and I started kickboxing just to gain some core strength and things like that. And then there was a production of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They needed a number of stunt doubles.
This was on stage, yeah?
Yes. And they went down to the gym that I was working out at, and they asked who might they choose, and I was one of them. And it was a very interesting situation because we were in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles rubber suit, but there was no zips and everything, so they would glue us in. So we had to drink a lot of water and keep it in, and some of the guys started passing out and stuff. So it was a very interestingly and scary introduction to film and television, but it was cool. So basically through that, and then I also became a commercial pilot. Then 9/11 happened, and if your dad or uncle or father or mother or auntie or something were not pilots, you pretty much were set right back to zero. So I continued on with film and television, and here I am now. I've done many facets of film and television. The very first time I stepped on a film set was his background. Did that for a while, and then did special skills, and then I started doing stunts, then I started doing stunt acting, and then I moved over fully into acting, and now I've been doing some directing and producing. It's been lovely.
You've done pretty much everything that's possible to do in that arena.
Pretty much. I haven't done the craft service. Well, yeah, I've done craft service. I've done location. The reason why I know that film and television is for me is that if I wasn't doing this department, I'd be in that department. If I was in a wardrobe, makeup, hair, if I was taken out of one department, it would not take me out of the industry. I would find a way to get back into some other outlet. So yeah, this is it for me. And I like it.
What was your experience of doing stunts? It's quite an interesting thing to hear people talk about. And that Ryan Gosling film drew a lot of attention to the effort that goes into creating stunts.
Where he was the stunt driver?
The Fall Guy.
Oh, Fall Guy. Okay. Because he did a movie called Drive, where he was a stunt driver as well.
Yeah, that was in there. Yeah. The Fall Guy was very much about practical stunts. Here's how we do them. Let's shine a light on it and celebrate it. So it's a very interesting thing to hear about. I
have a lot of respect for the stunt industry, the stunt performers. Actually, just the other day, I guess to date this, a very well-respected stunt man and stunt coordinator and filmmaker, Mr. Danny Virtue, passed away. He was the man who gave me my very first stunt job. And the stunt people, for example, when you see a movie trailer, more times than not, I put money on the clips that you see are driven by the stunts, the action, the drama, the fast pace. And for a while, the stunt community was not really recognized, in my opinion. So with the stunt people, there's daredevils and there's stunt performers, which are very different. There's a lot of people who, I could be a stunt guy. No, it's safety first. There's a lot of thought and consideration that goes into any and everything that you see on film. And people that are chosen to do the stunts are carefully chosen. Look like the actor, skill level, things like that. It's a tough go to be in stunts. And there's a lot of trust involved as well. And risk, of course. But one thing that I find interesting is that with stunt women, when I was doing stunts, some of the stunts that I did, I was often in a suit. And I would have elbow pads, knee pads, back pad, all that kind of stuff. But the women would be in a spaghetti strap cocktail dress. There's no place for pads. And they're rolling down the stairs. And it's like, okay, cut, good, going again. So hats off to these female stunt performers who really earn their money. But as a stunt performer, you really have to be very aware because you'll see the actor do their motion, and then you've got to mimic them, walk like them, move like them, fall like them. And if you're thrown over a table or knocked over, when you land, You have to land in such a way that cannot clearly see that it's you. Nowadays with CG and things, it's a little different. But yeah, it's a very technical thing.
It's interesting to hear people talk about what is considered a stunt, because there's things that you wouldn't necessarily define as one. One example is if you have to carry someone, that's a stunt.
Yeah.
But you just wouldn't think of that as a stunt.
Yeah, the hurt factor is, for me, is the equation. What's the worst thing that could happen? You stub your toe? Okay, no problem, no stunt. But carrying people and running in the street and, well, of course, jumping off of buildings. So do you think being lit on fire would be considered a stunt?
I would call that a stunt, yeah.
Okay, fine, whatever.
What was the most dangerous stunt you had to do in your career?
The most dangerous stunt I had to do was fall off a building or get my pilot's license. Depends on how you look at it. It was a building fall, jumping off a 8-story building into a mat that when I was on the ground, it was huge, just huge, filled with air. And by the time I got up there, I was like, is that the same thing that was down there before? It's a little smaller. Still blue, but a lot smaller. It's scary. Like I said, there's daredevils and there's stunt people. Evel Knievel was a daredevil. He risked his life. I'm sure they made sure of risk factors, but the stunt game is very technical. It's not just guys and girls who are tough, who are cool or whatever. They're very talented individuals.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of watching the behind the scenes things on movies. I collect physical media, and you often get these making of featurettes, and they will go into what went into making a stunt happen and making a sequence happen. And it's always fascinating to see what's involved and how many people are involved.
Yeah, sometimes somebody will have to shave their head. Somebody will have to dye their hair. They'll have to make some physical changes that they've got to spend the next 2, 3, 4 months getting back to. I always wonder with stunt people, what is your look? Because if you're a busy stunt person, you're always matching your stunt double. You're always matching somebody else's look, mimicking their walk, down to the eyes and contact lenses, hair color and stuff. So when you get time to yourself, I'm wondering, what do stunt people do when they are by themselves? What makes them feel fully back to them? When do I get back to me?
Must be surreal being on set and you see 4 of the same looking person standing around, the same costumes and wigs and so on.
Yeah, I've done some films and I've had stunt doubles, and sometimes I'm like, oh, that's my double? Okay, and sometimes, whoa, this guy really looks like me. I hope you can't act, because so I'm in trouble. I don't say that, but I think it.
It's a great thing to celebrate. I think drawing attention to it is the right thing. And like I say, Ryan Gosling drawing attention to it through The Fall Guy, and Tom Cruise to an extent showing what goes into making stunts happen.
Isn't he amazing? Past few weekends, we were watching the Mission Impossible. They were playing in order. It's just incredible. For me, outside of Tom Cruise, and The Rock has his cousin, is his stunt double. One thing I want to say is with actors, you're an actor, but you're not really trained in doing certain stunts. Let the stunt performer do, because, actors say, oh, I do my own stunts too sometimes. But my thing is, when you have a lead actor that really wants to do a stunt, but they're really not trained in that, and it could be a liability. If you want to do that stunt, do it on the last day of filming. If you do get hurt, you're not going to be messing up everybody else's cash flow as far as just put the kids in school. I just bought that car, or that kind of thing. So yeah, the stunt performers, they make us look invincible. I've died many times when I'm still here.
And you got to stay away from all the really dangerous stuff, so it's good. You've done a lot of voiceover and live action acting as well. I'm always interested to hear about people's experiences of the differences in doing both. I've heard so many different accounts of it's a very different discipline in terms of what you have to do in order to voice act versus be on set. So what's your experience of the differences? Obviously, you're not expected to move and so on when you're voice acting, but people have talked about the energy levels and so on that come into doing the voiceovers. It can be a lot more tiring than you might expect.
Oh yeah, of course. We had our pre-interview conversation. I was letting you know about this is not on video. So to go to an acting audition, on-camera audition is very different, and you'll have very different energy as to going to a voice audition. How you look does not matter. My experience with voice acting is, it doesn't really matter how you dress, but what is really important is, are you alert? It's not just reading words off a page. It's feeling the energy. Things have changed. We used to have like 7 cast members. I used to do a show called Ninjago, it was Lego, and there were 7 actors in the room. We all had microphones, and we were just feeling the energy off of each other. And it was very easy to stay present because there were other people, and voice actors speak very loudly and you're very energetic to keep that energy up. But after the pandemic, they started recording each actor individually, and we didn't really get to have a sense of what the other actors were doing, their energy, their feel. So I was glad that I at least had a little taste of what it's like to be in a room with 7 other voice actors. So I found myself having to keep my energy level up, like I had just drank a Red Bull. As far as live action goes, very different thing. I did a movie called The World of Warcraft, where I played 2 characters. I played an orc. The character's specific name is Caged Frostwolf. And I also played Varys, who is one of the leaders of the royal army, a knight. And with the live action, when I played Varys, I was an actor in armor, and what you saw is what you got, so to speak. But when it came to me playing the orc, I was in the motion capture. I had all these dots on my face. Are you familiar with the motion capture with the dots?
Yeah, it's very popular with video games.
Put a series of white dots on your face, and whatever facial movements you make, the avatar will like you'll. It was really creepy to see this thing next to me doing everything that I was doing, smiling, laughing, grimacing, things like that. But as far as with the live action, they'll tell you there's trees around you, there's green screen behind you, but there's nothing there. So you've really got to tap into that childhood. When I was a child, I had incredible imagination. I could universe of endless thoughts. But when it comes to the live action, really being able to immerse yourself in imagination and put it right in front of you and physically demonstrate that you are in that environment. Not easy.
How did you find that your imagination stacked up to what actually appeared on screen?
Well, my imagination is not as colorful. Got a lot less pixels than a film, but my imagination, I always say I'm still this, what you see in front of you, or what you're hearing, since there's no video, is the 8-year-old version of me, just many years later. I haven't changed much. I still have the same curiosities, the same thoughts, the same ideas. The world has changed, in my opinion. I've just had to adapt and pivot accordingly.
That's what adulthood is, unfortunately.
Yeah, sucks. I don't want to grow up. You do it.
I want to be a kid again where I can play video games for 4 days straight and not feel guilty about it.
Yeah, I'm just playing. It's not even real. What's the big deal, right?
I wanted to ask you about your appearances on Smallville. You were in 5 episodes across 4 years on that show. I'm a big fan of Smallville. I loved it when it was on.
Is that right? I didn't know that. 5 episodes over 4 years?
Yeah, across different seasons, and it was different roles every time. What was it like coming back to that show and seeing how it changed between appearances? I imagine the production timeline would have been much the same, but the show obviously changes across the decade that it ran.
When I say I didn't know that, I knew I worked on the show many times. It was that many times in that time frame. With that show, I found that Tom Welling, the lead actor, Superman, every time I saw him, he was a little more muscular. And he looked a little wealthier, too. Actually, so did all the lead. It was a really good show to work on. I believe I did 2 stunt actor gigs and then 3 acting gigs. I found that the show evolved in a way. It didn't continue to be mundane or predictable. I myself watched the show, and am a big fan of the show, and Supergirl and Marvel and DC franchises. It grew in a way that I found you could jump into it at any time. You didn't have to, I got to watch season 1 and then season 2. You know what I mean? Very well written.
It was a show that evolved over its time as he was building towards being Superman. In later seasons, it seemed like there was a lot less time on the farm and more time on the standing sets and so on. So it's just interesting to hear about how it feels coming back to a show years apart.
Well, then after that, Supergirl was produced. I ended up booking a guest star on, I think it was season 5 or something. I was the Warden William Ellis. And I was the man who was the nemesis of Lex Luthor in his incarceration, so to speak. I was the warden of the jail. That was a lot of fun.
That one was in Superman and Lois, the warden role.
Whatever. Superman and Lois, yes.
No, I'm telling you about your own life.
Well, you know what? Since you know everything, go ahead. What else have I done?
Can you talk about that experience? You were brought back to reprise that role. You played it twice.
Yeah, it was a really wonderful experience. The director of those episodes, the first one that I was on, his name is David Sudz Sutherland.
I've interviewed him. He's great.
Oh, you have? He's a really good friend of mine. I love that guy. I met him on that set, and then end of that week, he was over at my house. We were having Jamaican food because my heritage is Jamaican. He's Jamaican, but he's from out east. I found that the way that they had set up the jail with the tone and the little bit of the smoke, I found quite fascinating. One of my scenes, I'm in my office and the Lex Luthor character is introduced. And we had a scene where he's telling me that he's going to do this, he's going to do that. I'm like, who do you think you are? And then he reveals to me that at my home, he has guys there. They have my son, they have my wife. But what we were able to do was sit there because of the graciousness of the director. We were able to work it out to a point where we refined it even more. That's not often a thing. I'm not going to say it never happens, but sometimes there are directors like, I want this way, this, and this. The director will really never tell you exactly what to do, but sometimes you can kind of tell, you feel what your parameters are as an actor. And with David Sudz Sutherland, I had free range to paint as I wanted, and it was a really good experience. He also is a very specific type of director. We introduced this thing called a food specialist because Lex Luthor had to crack an egg, a boiled egg, and then dip a piece of toast in it, bite it, and then put it down and deliver some lines. So the food specialist had to have everything prepared properly. It wasn't fake food. It wasn't rubber eggs, things like that. So working with David Sudz Sutherland, Sudz, we just call him Sudz for short. I learned a lot. I've been acting for quite a while, but it is true. Each and every time I do definitely learn. So I may not realize it that day or that week, but when you look back and reflect on things, I'm always learning. I look at the film industry as high school with lots of money, or a guy with one hose and 12 fires to out.
And Sudz, he's very passionate about that world as well. That was the impression I got when I spoke to him. He knows a lot about it. He knows how he wants it to look.
Yeah, he's brilliant. I had him here at my house and we talked, and I was just like, wow, this guy's amazing. He's really an interesting guy. But enough about Sudz. What about you?
Working with Michael Cudlitz as well, as he is scary in person as he comes across on screen. He was a very scary Lex.
He was. He's sweet, man. I've worked with some real badass. I'm doing the air quotes here. Michael Cudlitz, he's a sweetheart. Stone Cold Steve Austin, he's a sweet man. I'm serious. A lot of these badasses, it's not just an image, but it's an image that they portray well. But yeah, a lot of them are really. Woody Harrelson, I worked with him on War for the Planet of the Apes. He's like you would expect him to be. From Cheers, not dim-witted or whatever, but he's a nice man. He's a really nice man. The industry that I work in, I get to meet some wonderful people.
And did you interact much with Tyler Hoechlin or Elizabeth Tulloch? Tyler Hoechlin is my favourite Superman, actually. I think he was amazing.
Yeah, everything but take a photo with him. Didn't want to bother him. He asked to take a photo with me. I was like, excuse me, do you mind? No, I'm just kidding. In my opinion, I believe he knew that he was obviously the lead of the show. In the film world, when the lead actor is in a grumpy mood, then everybody feels it and it trickles down and it spreads out and it stays 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, right? I feel that he was very aware of the fact that since I'm the center of this universe, is it going to be warmth or is it going to be cold or something there in between? He was very chipper and positive, and I could feel his energy through other people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. People have always said to me that number one on the call sheet, they set the tone and everyone follows it.
That is very true. You don't think about it. Well, I didn't realize until I saw, I'm like, oh, that's what this shit is. Okay. Why is everybody so okay. Yeah, I've been on some sets where the tension is just loud and other sets where I'm like, I don't want to go home.
It would have been especially important as well because one of your appearances was in the final season. So the show was winding down. They all knew it. They would have been looking to him for guidance, I guess.
Yeah, and that's when I met him. The previous episodes, I'd seen him, but he was busy flying around and stuff like that. I didn't actually get to meet him, but even down to the very end. And when I see this guy in interviews and things like that, I want to hear what this guy has to say because when I met him, he was nice. You never know how somebody's going to be when you meet them, especially people that are in the public eye. And I'll admit, there's some people I thought, oh man, this person must be really interesting. And then you meet them. Could have been a bad day or whatever, but you get a little hurt like, oh, I thought you know what I mean? So when people that you look up to or admire or whatever are chipper and happy, some of them get it. They realize it spreads around the world.
And you mentioned the War for the Planet of the Apes movie. What was being on that set like? Because the filmmaking techniques used on those movies are really ambitious. All the motion capture, the blending of CGI and performance and so on. What was it like being there? What did it look like to see how they were setting all that up?
I was on that film for quite a while. We had certain sets that were down in the jungle. We had sets that were sewer, things like that on a very grand scale. You come into a warehouse door and all of a sudden open up to this jungle. It's like, whoa. It was very surreal at times. Then they would have a big green screen behind this elaborate set, running water, all of the real big budget film type things. One of the scenes that I'm in, I'm leading the 900 soldiers and I'm doing a vocal cadence. We did that out in Tsawwassen, BC. I live in Vancouver and it's about a half an hour drive south from here. So just outside of Vancouver. And it was supposed to be in the wintertime. And we filmed that movie, I think July. No, it wasn't winter when we were filming. So there was supposed to be snow on the ground. And by the time I got to the set, because I remember reading the script and I'll read it over and over and over again. And the day that we were doing that particular scene, I was taking the set and there's snow everywhere. I'm like, oh, what the heck is this stuff? I found out later that they had bought hundreds and hundreds of pounds of dolomite. It's like white chalk, white powder. So it's just really interesting to work on films like that with the CG and stuff. The Apes actually had a helmet that had two rods pointing forward from the face and then teeny little cameras on the end of those rods looking back at your face, capturing your face. When we were filming, we didn't see any monkeys. We didn't see any brown hair, black hair. We saw people in gray dance skins with helmets on acting like monkeys. You really have to have your imagination open when it comes to filming, especially with CG and things like that. You got to keep yourself in check. Very exciting as well.
Again, the behind the scenes on that, seeing Andy Serkis acting like an ape on set, it looks ridiculous, but when you see the final product, it looks incredible.
I'm a big fan of his, so whenever he was around, I all of a sudden realized I stopped talking. You know what it was? We did it in January because my birthday. After filming one day, we went to a bar that was close to the set, and Andy Serkis and Terry, I can't remember his name. I worked with him twice. He's a movement specialist. Terry Notary, wonderful guy. I would say he's one of the, if not the top person in film and television that does the animal. When you see a gorilla or ape, something like that, he really can mimic animals. I also met him when I did World of Warcraft to show me how to move like an orc. So I met some really interesting people. But yeah, I had my birthday there and we went to a bar and it was fun. I got to take photos with Terry Notary and Andy Serkis and three other cool guys. So yeah, it was interesting.
I love those movies. The craft on display is incredible. Incredibly ambitious to put all that together and make it look as good as it does.
Yeah, we did a lot of training, military training. I did cadence training. I mean, I have a background in martial arts and weapons and things like that, but it still was, yeah, you know this, but you got to be really specific now. It was very technical with World of Warcraft. Myself, Ben Foster, Dominic Cooper, Travis Fimmel. We went through a few weeks of riding lessons. Travis was the best rider because he's a country boy. For the Royal Army, in your left arm, you're on a horse, you have a shield, and in your right hand, you have a sword. You don't have any place to be able to grab the reins. So what they were teaching us in one of the exercises is how to guide a horse by squeezing with your thighs to the left, to the right. So glad I didn't have to actually do that on the day.
I would call that a stunt as well.
Yeah. And then I think a buddy of mine, stunt guy, Trevor Jones, a very talented, wonderful stuntman here in Vancouver and Hollywood. He stunt doubled me.
Speaking of heavy CGI, you were on Tron Legacy as well. We've recently had the new Tron movie release, 19 years later or something like that. What was it like being on the Tron set? You were talking earlier about having to imagine things. I imagine that was probably quite heavy there as well.
Yeah, I was a big fan of the original movie. The director, he used to do music videos and he had a specific niche. I remember the first day I came to set, they made a corridor of black cloth for us to walk from the set and to the trailers because they were paparazzi trying to take photos, sneak behind the scenes, things like that. And the character I played was a light jet sentry, basically a guard. I had this tight latex suit that had lights going through it. It was amazing. I was like, can I take this home? It was really, really cool. I was lit in LED in orange all the way through my arms. And then I had this helmet that had this really cool visor. It was on a huge scale, a lot of green everywhere. We were told this is here. There was a lot of X's on the green wall. The front of the jet is over there. So yeah, it was a lot of imagination. But one thing that was actually very real was that I worked with Jeff Bridges. He and I had this scene and I was so excited. And days later, I was like, wow, I just worked with Jeff Bridges. He was really nice to work with. He was a really interesting person to do scenes with. We did our scene and the gravity and energy that he owns, he doesn't need anymore. He's very gracious. He's very easy to be around.
Yeah, I've read The Big Lebowski is not too far away from his actual personality.
Yeah, he told me some jokes that anyway. He's a lot of fun. But yeah, the movie, it was very high tech. I saw some cameras and lighting and things like that I had never seen before. So I'm really excited to see the new one.
The behind the scenes on Tron Legacy, the lights you were talking about in the costume, they wouldn't run for very long before they needed to be replaced. Is that right?
I was like, how does this shit even work? And can I take it home? No? Okay, fine.
It only lights up for 5 minutes before we need to change it anyway, so there's no point.
And also, the latex suit that I had, there's no breathing. So they had a little port opening on the back of my suit that looked like a Lego piece, a square with 2 circles or 3 circles or whatever. And as soon as we cut, somebody would come up to me with a fan and it would click into the back and it would cool me down because we would heat up very quickly because no heat was escaping. They made sure that we were hydrated. It's amazing how fast you can heat up when you're dressed like a sausage.
Other actors I've spoken to that talk about when they do heavy prosthetics and costumes and so on, it can be disappointing when you can't enjoy all the good food that's around because you have to stay as you are.
Anytime I do prosthetics, I keep a chopstick on me so I can eat. I am not joking. If I know I'm going to be doing prosthetics, I got a chopstick on me for sure.
And you voiced Nick Fury. That's a really big deal for a Marvel character. And obviously there's been quite a few takes on that character. What did you do to prepare for yours? Did you base them on anything specific, or did you have any guidance on what this version was going to be like?
To be honest, Craig, it was quite confusing. Hasselhoff and then Samuel Jackson. I did my research and I was like, okay, so many people have done this. There's not a common theme. The first one doesn't sound like the second one. And I wasn't really expected to mimic, but I was expected to embody the quality of a leader. So with that there, I just started watching a lot of military movies and found that some of the leaders that caught my eye were just very calm. I found that a powerful person in a movie, if he's yelling his face off and freaking out, as opposed to, I'm going to kill you, as opposed to, you know, you're going to die right tonight. It's a very different quality, right? So I found that I was going to attack it my own way, in my own type of voice, but not be concerned with the actors that had preceded me. And I like what ended up happening.
Yeah, Nick Fury should always be 10 steps ahead of everyone around him, shouldn't he? He's always in control of a situation.
Yeah, Hasselhoff did Fury, Sam Jackson. There's many, many different actors. And since they were so different, and I realized, well, the next one is me. There's no signature vocal tone or nothing common, just English and authority.
And Samuel L. Jackson wouldn't have been in the role for long when you were doing it anyway. It was quite early on in the MCU.
Yeah, I actually believe that I had voiced, there was a series called Iron Man Armed Adventures. I played Nick Fury multiple times in multiple Marvel series. There was Iron Man Armed Adventures. There was Hulk versus Wolverine, which was a movie, but it was set in a cartoon, like in the boxes. Each box would move. I mean, the characters inside within each cartoon square would move. I believe that my first Nick Fury debut was actually before Jackson. I wasn't matching anybody, mimicking anybody, so to speak.
That must have been freeing to have this iconic character that's been around forever and just put your own spin on it.
Yeah, it was. But honestly, depends on the day, depends on the moment. Sometimes like, yeah, this is cool. And other times like, I'm kind of hungry. Oh, do I sound funny? I've given myself free rein to allow my brain to attack me at certain times, but not when I'm at work. The judgment and the insecurity, which we all have. I say, yeah, I know you're there. Just we'll talk later. So once I said to myself, yeah, it's there. It's not going to go away, but we'll talk later. Right now I'm busy. I found it's given me a lot of creative freedom to explore more and not be concerned about hitting the ground or scraping the sky.
It's a good philosophy for anything, really.
Cool, huh? I just came up with that. You can use that on your next note.
You can put it on T-shirts.
Yeah, you spelt the word sky wrong. Well, whatever. In this industry, I've heard things like, just throw it away. But in order to throw something away, in my idea, you have to have it first to throw it away. If you can't just throw away tools that you don't have, what works for you, Craig, may work for me today. And then 3 weeks later, that same thing is still working for me, but it's not working for you anymore. So I just feel like not necessarily be brave, but just be crazy enough to find out, oh, that works. Oh, that does not. That's the only way you're going to know. There's no blueprint to excellence or discovery other than just going out there and really just getting into it.
Give it a go. See what happens. When you said you played Fury in different projects, in your mind, was it the same guy in every project, or did you vary him depending on what it was?
That's a really good question. He sure sounded like the predecessor. I toss him with that quite a bit. Is this Fury Future or Fury Past or Marvel East side, I had a lot of questionings in my mind, but I was like, you know what? If you're not going to come up with an answer your damn self, don't bother asking the question. If they're not saying anything like a little more whatever, please this or whatever, then it's not an issue. But again, you got to ask yourself the question to realize, well, there's no answer to it, so don't bother asking. Doesn't matter.
Who is he in this scene, basically, is what you want.
Yeah, when I did Hulk versus Wolverine, it was one of the first times that because I'm a big fan of vulnerability. And what I mean by that is guys that do the right thing and get the girl or whatever they want and everything. That's boring. I want to see Mr. Perfect be put in a situation that he didn't even know was going to happen, not even trained for, not even prepared for. And what does he do about it? Let's see you get out of this one. That's what's interesting to me. So with Hulk versus Wolverine, I was able to get into a side of Fury's vulnerability, which is, in my mind, always interesting to see. What do you really care about? What are your weaknesses? If you know everybody else's, what are yours? And are you willing to show them?
And I guess for Nick Fury, largely not, because he needs to be in charge. He needs to know everything.
Yeah. Relax, man. Give the Matrix back their leather jacket. I'm sure they're looking for it.
Before we talk about your guest appearance on Boston Blue, is there anything else you've done in your career that you really want to talk about, that you want to draw any attention to?
Yes, everything. My whole resume. So you can find my resume at this moment. Anything that I'd really like to talk about? Yes. But I don't know what that is. I don't know if the last time I said this, we were probably not recording, but you asked some really good questions. It's your fault. Stop it. Let's just be boring. Can we be boring?
I'll just do the standard ones.
There's a couple of things I'd like to talk about. The War for the Planet of the Apes was a very special movie to me because one, got to meet Woody Harrelson. And there are times in my career as an actor that I constantly know what's going on. I know this is not real. I'm reacting to situations that are not real. That's therefore reacting. But in War for the Planet of the Apes, there was one scene where the soldiers were, and I was one of the soldiers, were basically mentally and physically berating the apes, and they put them in this cage and they just were loud, yelling at them, taunting them. It just made me think of, this shit happens in real life to people. This is Holocaust. These kind of things happen. And it really gave me a real appreciation for it. Honestly, I went to my trailer and I wept. I was like, I hope what this is doing is actually going to try to make sure that this type of thing doesn't happen again in the world. So that was one time that my work really affected me. And I took it home. I didn't realize that was going to ever happen as an actor because the reality of the story was just too real. You've seen War for the Planet of the Apes?
Yeah, I've seen all of them. And that's what science fiction does well, doesn't it? It shines a light on the world that we live in and shows us how we can be better or explores it.
That was one thing. I've never really spoken about that before. It really woke me up as an actor in real time. And this better work or else I've wasted my time. I hope it's hitting somebody like it's hitting me.
In that movie, you were quite an unpleasant character, working with Woody Harrelson's character, who was also unpleasant.
Such a dick. It was not good.
Must be interesting to tap into those darker side of humanity.
Yeah, I'll say as an actor, I've heard people say, oh, you know what, I should get into that, and I could do that. But I'm like, there's so much involved in acting that people don't see. Like, for example, when you're in a studio, air conditioner is going, work is going on, people are okay, and there's a bell that goes off. Okay, silence, quiet, because time for us to start filming. Everybody stops talking. The sound guy says speed, which means audio is taping, and then they shut off the air conditioning. So all of a sudden, there's no sound. You can feel the silence, and you're the one with the first line. Ready? And action. Those few seconds, it's a big mental thing. I'm the only one that's going to be talking right now. So I better get every word right. What was my second? Oh, shit. Here comes that thing that went off. Line. What we see on TV is usually the best take, but there are so many. You got to make it dirty before it gets nice and clean. There's a lot of outtakes, and that's just how it works. I used to think that actors would go up there, hit every line. No, it's messy, man.
Bloopers can be fun to watch, though.
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you a quick story. One time I had an audition to do, and now we do self-tapes. So we tape at home, or we do the taping. The actors do the taping with a friend or something like that. And there was this one show I was taping for. I won't mention the show, nor when I mention the casting director, nor will I mention the character. I do a scene, and this is the thing that's known as a false start. I'll start a scene, and you're like, this isn't feeling right. Okay, let's go again. So rather than stop the tape, you just start over again. So I started the scene and plugged up my words, and I said, fuck, let's go again. Just keep rolling. So we started over again. And when I'm doing my taping, I'll put my hand up in front of the camera to show that something needs to be edited out. Well, I edited my tape. I missed my last hand. So my tape starts, okay, blah, 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 fuck. And then the scene went on again. And I ended up booking that job. But I'm not saying start swearing in your scene actors, because I wouldn't suggest that.
You must have just seemed very natural. Maybe that's what it was.
Extremely loose, very original. And I had seen it because I looked at it later on. I was like, oh my, do I say anything? You know what? If you haven't heard anything, don't say anything. So make sure you check your edits when you're doing it. Because I'm just
always good advice. Other actors have talked about self-tapes and how they can get too caught up in the perfectionism of them, or they end up doing too many rather than just, this is the one, send it on. Because in the days of going into the room, you would go into the room and then whatever happened rather than doing 50 takes on a self-tape or whatever.
Yeah. One of my pet peeves is the background, sheet or whatever. I'm a very big fan of minimizing negative space. I see some tapes where, did you shoot this from across the street? 10 feet above your head, 8 feet on the side. I can see your knees. I like the close-up shots. We were talking before about lighting and everything. Lighting and taping has taught me a lot.
It's suddenly a whole set of extra skills you need to learn in order to look for jobs.
You can get caught up in, let's do another take, or sometimes with acting, when you used to go into auditions, it's just such a crazy time. Your brain is attacking you. You're thinking of this. You have all these points to match. There's nothing really there. It's crazy. It doesn't even make any sense. But you'll do a take, and sometimes the casting director will say, okay, well, that's great. Can you just pick up the pace, make it faster, and just tighten it up? And then you're thinking, okay, speak faster, say the words. And what you do is you get every word right because you said it faster because you're focusing on the words, but all of the dramatics and stuff is just totally gone. I do like being able to send in my best take. I did like going in the room and meeting the casting director because it was a good way to exchange energy. Fortunately, I've been around long enough that most of the casting directors that are out there, I've met him. They know I'm a real person.
And I guess when you're in the room with the casting director, you'll maybe get a sense of what they're looking for rather than on the tape where you want.
That's interesting that you mentioned that. Nowadays, the casting directors that I deal with, they'll actually put in their notes, and I take their notes as what their suggestions would be in the room. But you got to read all of that stuff. You got to read, right?
Let's talk about your recent appearance on Boston Blue. So it's the first episode of a spin-off.
Yes.
That you appear in. So yeah, just talk about your experience of being on this new show, this spin-off show, and what you were doing on it.
The show is a spin-off of the series Blue Bloods, which stars Tom Selleck, Donnie Wahlberg, 15 seasons, big show. I was a fan of the show. So now one of the lead characters, Danny Reagan, who is Donnie Wahlberg, which is the son of Tom Selleck's commissioner. He was a commissioner of the NYPD. He's moved to Boston. Danny Reagan's son became a police officer, and he's went to Boston. He got injured, and Danny Reagan, which is Donnie Wahlberg, went down to Boston to look after his son. Danny Reagan gets involved in the case, and he ends up staying in Boston, I believe. But the episode that I am in was about a fire that a boy who my character named Marquise Rollins is a father figure to, created a fire that killed some people, and he just got accepted into MIT. So I, because of the love I have for this boy and you see his bright future, I try to make it look like I was the one who created the fire, but the Boston PD realized that it's not me. But through all of that, I got to work with Donnie Wahlberg. I got to work with Sonequa Martin Green, who is from The Walking Dead, as you may know.
Star Trek as well.
Yeah, these are the two stars that I work with. Donnie Wahlberg, he's a huge star. New Kids on the Block, really good actor. And when I met him, I said to him, Donnie, I just want to thank you for this opportunity. You know what he says to me? He says, I didn't do anything. I'm like, what do you mean you didn't do anything? You're a co-executive producer of Blue Bloods and now Boston. He goes, I didn't do anything. I said, really? He didn't? Okay, fine. He was very humble, very personal, very nice. I really feel he's a really good actor. I really like watching him. He's very natural. And I told him that, and he starts blushing. He's like, oh, come on, man. Yeah, he's a really, really nice guy to be around. And Sonequa Martin Green, she's just as gracious. So they were really nice to me. We had some really good filming days. I felt like I jumped on a already moving high pace successful locomotive. The reviews from their first night, their premiere on Friday, October 17th, very good reviews. The show about blended family. Anybody who watches Blue Bloods, I believe, will really like Boston Blue. And we filmed it out in Toronto, Canada, and made Toronto look like Boston. And I think they did a really good job.
Is the whole show filming out there? Is that where it's going to be based?
They did do some initial filming in Boston for plate shots and establishment shots. I don't know if they'll go back there for the majority of the filming. From what I understand, is done in Toronto. And previous to that, I was in Toronto. I mean, I've spent quite a bit of time in Toronto this year filming on that series. And then another series that I've filmed, it's called The Greatest, and it's to do with the boxer Muhammad Ali. It's about his life, and it's authorized by the Ali family. So it's not just we think this and we think that, and you know what I mean? It's a big deal. It's produced by MGM and Amazon Prime. We filmed that out in Toronto, and I play a boxer by the name of Archie Moore. Are you familiar with Archie Moore?
I'm not, no.
Well, neither was I. He preceded Muhammad Ali. The first boxer I could say that I knew of was Muhammad Ali because I grew up in the 60s. But Archie Moore was the big champ before him. It's an 8-part series. They're really taking their time with this one. I've done many things in film, but do you know who Muhammad Ali is? No, I've never heard of him. I'm not going to get that. I think it'll do really well. An amazing cast list. The young man who plays Ali, he's impressive. They cast him really well.
Very different to Will Smith then.
Yeah.
He was good though.
Yeah. Will Smith is a great actor. He's a little younger Ali and a really good guy. Not every day is gravy as an actor, but I've met some really wonderful people in film. And I'm very grateful for the opportunities that I've had and hopefully will have. I was asked in an interview one time, took me off guard, but the guy at the interview said, so what's it like to be successful as an actor, to be a successful actor? And I don't look at myself as I have successes in life and things, but you know what I'm saying? I'm a successful actor. I'm in the service industry. So he could see that I didn't really know how to approach that answer. He said, well, what is your idea of success as an actor? And I appreciated that. I said, success for me as an actor is being able to provide opportunities for people within my industry. And what I mean by that is, as an actor, when I get cast on a show, I'm cast, but then there's a stunt double. If there's a stunt, there's a stand-in who stands with lighting. So every time I book a job, it's a really big victory for me because I know that there are people that are already working, but there are other people that are going to be working in transit with me, not because of me, but with me. So I feel very fortunate to be in the industry that I'm in because there's you've been doing this 5 years, so now you're a level C and in 6 months you'll be, there's no sense.
So many people have told me that it's difficult to work consistently. It's very much once one job's over, you need the next one and then the next one and the next one. There's no guarantees, I suppose, is what people have told me.
Yeah, that's very true. And well, why the hell do you do that? I'm like, I don't know. Apparently it's working. It's weird, man. It's weird. Things people do, huh?
Yeah. Got to pay the bills somehow.
I'm done robbing banks. No, I'm just kidding. Not kidding that I'm done. I mean, kidding that, Anyway.
You're nowhere near done robbing banks. You'll go back to it one day if you have to. I don't think they keep much cash around these days anyway. I don't think it's going to be all that worthwhile.
No. Give me your card.
I did have it in my notes to ask you about the Ali biography because I was interested in it. So it is just but it is a biopic, but as a TV show rather than as a film.
It's 8 episodes so far. It's a series. I'm under a non-disclosure agreement. I've spoken what I could speak about, but they put a lot of time and effort and manpower and creating places. They didn't cut any corners, that's for sure.
Did you have to do any fighting or can you not talk about that?
Yes. I flew to Toronto for 3 weeks prior to my film. Again, I have martial arts training, boxing, things like that. But I flew to Toronto and did about 3 weeks of boxer training and choreography with the fight choreographer. Michael B. Jordan is a producer. And he, as you know, did Creed. The stunt team that worked on that movie were the people that I worked with on this. So I was in good hands.
They know how to make a boxing match look authentic, yeah.
Yeah, we did choreography over and over. I did a lot of laundry while I was there. It was sweating.
So what else is on the cards for you? What have you got upcoming that you can talk about? Obviously, if your non-disclosure agreements don't breach any of those.
There is a major movie franchise game that I am voicing a iconic villain and or perhaps lead. No, it is a lead, but not necessarily villain, but just a major character. When it comes out, they'll be like, oh, okay, I understand why he said that. And that's That's all I can say. I still can't believe it.
Keep our eyes peeled for that. And as you say, once it becomes known, it'll be, oh, okay, that's what he was talking about.
Maybe I'll be able to come back and talk with you about
Absolutely.
it. But it's a big deal, bro. It's freaking me out.
If it's that big a deal, absolutely, I would happily have you back to discuss it. No problem.
Yeah, it's like, oof, wow. The other part of me is like, yeah, of course. Why not?
Of course it should be me. It should be me. Nobody else could do this. So to close the interview, always ask this it's not even an icebreaker because it's at the end of the interview, but just a fun question. If you could have any superpower, what would it be and why would you want it?
Today, if I could have any superpower, invisibility, so you can steal money. But I would say the power to neutralize heightened situations, not rob people of their intention, but just to peace now, please.
Just calm people down, diffuse tension.
Yeah, I'd be very busy right now. Can I get another superpower, please? This is wearing my ass out. Because I think that's what we need right now. Let's just figure this shit out. But of course, I'd like to wake up and I want a genie in a bottle. I want $1 million a day, like all that selfish shit. But honestly, the power to, let's try to get along.
Not quite mind control.
Testicular castration, cut your balls off and then you don't, I'm not angry anymore. I don't know where my balls are. Would you like some tea? Yeah, the power to incite consideration and peace and tolerance. At heightened moments.
Never had that one before, so that's cool. You've got a unique power.
Do I get it?
I don't know, maybe. If you wake up and you have it, then you can thank me for it, I guess. I'm not going to promise anything.
How did you make this about me? Oh, it's your show. Okay.
How did I give people superpowers? Imagine I could do such a thing.
You can. I feel super for being on your show. It's been a really nice talk with you. I'll let people know that I had an issue and I wasn't able to make the original taping, and Craig was just so gracious and kind and said, you know what, we'll figure it out. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. I'm really glad we had this conversation. I really got a lot out of it. It's been great, and I really hope that everything that you have coming up goes as well as it can and you continue to get more opportunities to pursue what you love. I really hope so.
Thank you. So do I. And same with you. I know I asked you questions about why it is that you do this, and the main reason for asking is because I really appreciate creatives like yourself that bond with creatives like myself to create. I always want to find out how the sausage is made. You're a sausage maker. I'm excited. This is how it's made. I want to know how it all works. What's really going on?
It's interesting to know how things work, and then you can understand why things are the way they are.
Yeah, this is good.
Thank you very much for your time. And like I said, good luck with everything that's coming up, and would absolutely love to have you on to talk about that really big deal that you can't talk about at the moment.
Thank you. Yeah, you and I will definitely talk about that.
For sure. I don't know what it is, but I'm already excited.
So am I. Woo.
But yeah, thank you again.
Yes, thank you. Take care.
That was my interview with Dean Redman. All the best to him for his future projects. If you like what you heard, please do subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you can get your podcasts. Please also leave us a 5-star rating and review. If you want to talk about anything discussed here or anything else, you can hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, and Blue Sky, or leave a comment under kneelbeforeblog.co.uk. You can also join us on Discord. For more interviews, a monthly news podcast, and deep dive analytical discussions about your favourite nerdy things, you can continue to join us on Kneel Before Pod.